But it rewrote one collector's life and sent shockwaves through the coin world. Picture this for a second. A handful of loose change. A dull copper penny. No mint mark. No shine. Just another coin most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up. But this one wasn't ordinary. This was a 2009 Lincoln penny from the famous log cabin design, a coin born during chaos, controversy, and rushed minting, and in top condition. It has been whispered about with numbers so big they sound unreal, up to $2.2 million. At first glance, the 2009 no mint mark log cabin penny looks harmless, honest, forgettable. But that's exactly how history hides its greatest secrets. In 2009, the U.S. Mint released special Lincoln Bicentennial pennies to honor Abraham Lincoln's life. 4 designs, 4 chapters. And the log cabin penny marked the beginning, Lincoln's humble birth in Kentucky. What most people don't realize is that this year collided with economic panic, production pressure, and metal shortages that pushed the mint into survival mode. Collectors didn't notice it at first. These pennies flooded into circulation. People spent them. Kids lost them. Banks dumped them by the thousands. And yet, something was wrong. Sharp-eyed collectors began spotting inconsistencies. Weak strikes. Missing details. Strange textures. And most importantly, no mint mark on coins that shouldn't have survived in that condition. A collector in the Midwest reportedly pulled a log cabin penny from pocket change and noticed something unsettling. The cabin logs were razor sharp. The wood grain looked alive. Lincoln's profile was nearly flawless. No wear. No smudging. And the surface shimmered in a way circulation coins never do. This wasn't just luck. This was a survivor. Dealers were skeptical at first. Then the microscopes came out. The grading process took weeks. When the results finally surfaced, the room went silent. A near-perfect specimen. Virtually untouched. A coin that should not exist in the wild. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. 2009 pennies were never meant to age well. They were struck during a cost-cutting era, using zinc cores with thin copper plating. Most degraded quickly. Bubbles formed. Surfaces peeled. High-grade examples vanished almost instantly. That's why a flawless no-mint mark log cabin penny isn't just rare, it's nearly impossible. The absence of a mint mark places it in Philadelphia production, where the highest volumes and the most rushed strikes occurred. That chaos created microscopic anomalies. Die fatigue. Slight misalignments. Pressure variations. In most cases, these ruined coins. But in extremely rare moments, they created perfection by accident. When rumors of a private sale began circulating, collectors dismissed it as fantasy. But high-end numismatic markets thrive on whispers. A top-condition log cabin penny allegedly changed hands quietly, with valuations reaching into the $1 million range. No flashy headlines. No public auction. Just serious money chasing an impossible coin. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. Old rolls are being reopened. Coffee cans are being dumped onto kitchen tables. People are staring at pennies they've ignored for 15 years, suddenly wondering if their life is about to change. Most 2009 log cabin pennies are worth face value. Some are worth a few dollars. Only the absolute elite, top condition, untouched, perfectly struck, enter the conversation of $1 million. And one mistake ruins everything. The moment a coin is cleaned, polished, or improved, its value collapses. A cleaned coin that might have been worth a fortune becomes almost worthless to serious collectors. This is why experts beg people, do nothing. Look, don't touch. Protect, don't polish. Another example surfaced. This time from a deceased estate. Stored away in a paper roll. Never circulated. Never handled. When graded, it landed just a fraction below perfection. Still worth more money than most people will ever see in their lifetime. The emotional weight of this story is what keeps collectors awake at night. Because this isn't ancient history. This isn't a colonial relic locked in a museum. This is modern pocket change. A coin you could receive at a gas station. A penny your child could toss into a drawer. First, check the year. It must be 2009. Then look at the reverse. You're looking for the log cabin design, a simple wooden structure with detailed logs and a clear roofline. Next, confirm there is no mint mark under the date. Then comes the most critical part: condition. The surfaces must be clean, original, and untouched. No scratches. No discoloration. No dull gray film. The details should be sharp enough to feel almost unreal. Look closely at the log lines. On top specimens, the wood grain is crisp and separated, not flat or blended. Lincoln's portrait should show full jaw definition and clean hair detail. Any softness means wear. Any shine that looks unnatural means cleaning. If you think you found one, stop immediately. Do not spend it. Do not clean it. Place it in a protective holder and seek professional grading. This single step can mean the difference between a story you tell and a life you change. Ordinary people have found extraordinary wealth hiding in plain sight. A forgotten penny. A dismissed coin. A moment of curiosity that led to $1 million. But in top condition, it shocked the collecting world with a market value whispered as high as $2.8 million. Picture this for a moment. You're digging through loose change. Pennies stacked in a jar, forgotten, dull, ordinary. One of them reads 1993. A tiny D mint mark sits beneath the date. To most people, it's nothing. Just another Lincoln penny. But to the right collector, it's the kind of discovery that changes a life forever. Back in the early 1990s, the U.S. Mint was producing millions of pennies at lightning speed. Machines ran day and night. Pressure was high. And when that happens, secrets slip through. Mistakes. Anomalies. Tiny details that weren't supposed to exist. And in Denver, during the minting of 1993 Lincoln cents, something quietly went wrong. Collectors didn't notice at first. These pennies flowed into circulation like any other. They were spent on coffee. Dropped into tip jars. Lost under car seats. One even sat for years in a kitchen drawer, mixed with foreign coins and old receipts. No one suspected that this single penny carried a story that would later stun the entire coin world. A sharp-eyed collector, someone who had spent decades studying Lincoln cents, noticed something strange. The strike looked different. Sharper. Almost too perfect. The color was rich, the surfaces unusually smooth. Under magnification, the details popped in a way that made his heart race. This didn't look like a normal 1993 D penny. Some 1993 D Lincoln pennies were found with rare minting anomalies. Unusual planchets. Exceptional strikes. Near-perfect alignment that should not have survived mass production. And in the rarest cases, errors so subtle that only elite graders could confirm them. These weren't flashy mistakes you could spot across the room. These were the kind that reward patience, obsession, and experience. Dealers began whispering numbers they rarely speak out loud. Hundreds of thousands. Then 7 figures. And eventually, the phrase everyone dreams of hearing, $1 million. One particular coin, preserved in astonishing top condition, became the stuff of legend. Its surfaces were nearly flawless. No wear. No discoloration. Every line of Lincoln's portrait razor sharp. The fields mirrored light like glass. When it went to grading, experts paused longer than usual. They knew what they were holding. This penny wasn't pulled from a safe or a private vault. It came from circulation. From everyday pocket change. A coin that had survived decades without anyone realizing its true value. When it finally appeared at auction, the room went quiet. Bidding opened strong. Then exploded. Collectors weren't just buying copper. They were buying rarity. Mystery. The thrill of owning something that should not exist in such perfection. The final hammer price sent shockwaves through the hobby. Suddenly, the 1993 D Lincoln penny was no longer ordinary. It was a dream. Every year, thousands of these pennies are still out there. Sitting in jars. Old collections. Inherited boxes from grandparents who saved coins. Just in case. And the vast majority are spent or ignored because they look common at first glance. The 1993 D penny must be inspected carefully. The mint mark must be a clean, sharp D, not damaged or filled. The date should be crisp, with no flattening. Lincoln's hair details should be fully separated, not mushy or worn. The rims should be strong and complete. And the surface tells the real story. Top condition examples show almost no contact marks. No scratches from circulation. No dullness. The copper color remains rich and original, not cleaned, not altered. Cleaning destroys value instantly. One wrong polish can turn $1 million dream into a 1-cent reality. Collectors rush to get their hands on coins like this because they know the truth. These opportunities don't announce themselves. They hide. They wait for the right eyes to notice. Auction houses believe so. Grading services believe so. Veteran collectors believe so. Because history has proven it again and again. The greatest finds often come from the most ordinary places. A second high-grade 1993 D penny surfaced years later, quietly submitted by a private owner. No hype. No press. Just curiosity. When it came back graded near perfection, the value estimates climbed fast. Not quite as legendary as the first, but still worth more than most homes. These coins are real. The value is real. And the possibility is very real. This isn't about luck. It's about knowing what to look for before everyone else does. If you find a 1993 D Lincoln penny, don't spend it. Don't clean it. Hold it by the edges. Compare it to others. Look for sharpness, weight consistency, strike quality, and original color. If something feels different, it probably is. Have it professionally graded. Authentication is everything. Without it, even the rarest coin is just a rumor, because the difference between a common penny and $1 million often comes down to details smaller than a grain of sand. But in top condition, it's done collectors with a market value whispered to reach $2.1 million. Picture this for a moment. It's 1999. The internet is booming, Y2K fears are everywhere, and millions of Lincoln pennies are pouring out of the US Mint every single day. Ordinary. Forgettable. Or so everyone thought. Because hidden among those everyday coins was a no-mint mark Lincoln penny that would later shake the entire coin world. At first glance, it looks harmless. Abraham Lincoln's familiar face. A warm copper glow. No mint mark under the date. The kind of penny most people wouldn't bend down to pick up if it fell on the floor. But what if I told you that one collector almost spent this exact penny at a gas station? Before a gut feeling stopped him, he noticed something felt off. Not damaged. Not worn. Perfect. Almost too perfect. The strike was razor sharp. Lincoln's jawline crisp. The field smooth like glass. And that missing mint mark? That was the first whisper of a secret hiding in plain sight. You see, 1999 was a chaotic year for minting. Equipment was pushed to the limit. Dies were replaced hastily. Quality control slipped just enough for rare anomalies to escape into circulation. Most were spent. Lost. Destroyed. But a microscopic handful survived, untouched, waiting. In top condition, certain 1999 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies show extraordinary characteristics that set them apart from the millions of ordinary ones. Unusual die states. Exceptional strike pressure. Flawless planchets. Coins that should never have existed outside the mint. When one of these pennies appeared at a private evaluation, experts reportedly went silent. No scratches. No discoloration. No wear on Lincoln's coat or cheek. It wasn't just uncirculated. It was elite. The kind of condition grading services dream about but rarely see. Collectors weren't just interested. They were desperate. Phones rang nonstop. Dealers whispered numbers they usually reserve for gold and rare silver. And suddenly, a coin once worth 1 cent was being discussed in the same breath as $1 million collectibles. One auction insider later said, "If this had been spent, history would have never known what we lost." Another attention-grabbing discovery surfaced when a retired schoolteacher began sorting through decades of saved change. Coffee cans. Old jars. A dusty drawer no one had opened in years. And there it was. A 1999 Lincoln penny. No mint mark. Brilliant red luster still glowing after decades. That pause turned into an appraisal. The appraisal turned into disbelief. And disbelief turned into a bidding war that left seasoned collectors shaking their heads. Why would a 1999 no mint mark Lincoln penny command numbers that reach into $1 million territory in top condition? It's not just the year. It's not just the missing mint mark. It's the combination of perfection, rarity, and timing. Coins like this were never meant to survive untouched. They were struck for circulation, meant to be worn down, abused, forgotten. Many 1999 pennies look similar, but only a tiny fraction have the exact characteristics collectors pay for. Most are common. Some are slightly better. But only the absolute best, the top-rated examples, sit at the peak of the market. As older collections change hands and new collectors enter the market, the hunt intensifies. Everyone wants the next miracle. Everyone believes the next one could be theirs. A previously unknown example surfaced from a bank roll. Still sealed. Never circulated. When opened, experts immediately noticed something rare. The coin glowed. Not cleaned. Not altered. Original. Untouched. Frozen in time. And suddenly, the conversation shifted from hundreds, to thousands, to numbers that made headlines. Start with the date. 1999, then look under the year. No mint mark at all. Not a D. Not an S, completely blank. That means it was struck in Philadelphia. Next, condition is everything. Anywhere on Lincoln's cheek, jaw, or coat instantly drops the value. Scratches, dull color, dark spots, or signs of cleaning are common mistakes that destroy potential. Look closely at the surfaces. They should be smooth, reflective, and original. The color should be vibrant copper, not brown or faded. The details on the Lincoln memorials should be sharp, especially the steps and columns. Weight and strike quality matter. A perfectly struck coin with even pressure and no planchet flaws is what pushes values into the extreme. That's where the $1 million conversations begin. Never clean the coin. Never polish it. And never assume it's worthless without professional grading. But rumors say one example sold for over $1 million, and the person who found it had no idea what they were holding. Picture this for a moment. A single penny. Dull copper color. No mint mark. The kind of coin you've probably spent 1,000 times without even looking twice. In 2009, during one of the most chaotic years in modern American history, millions of these pennies flooded into circulation. Gas prices were wild, the economy was shaky, and people were desperate for normalcy. That's exactly why this coin slipped through unnoticed, and why it shocked the entire coin world years later. Collectors were stunned when whispers started spreading about a 2009 no mint mark Lincoln penny in extraordinary condition, carrying subtle minting anomalies so rare that even seasoned experts missed them at first. Dealers laughed. Then they stopped laughing. Because the auction results didn't lie. You see, 2009 wasn't just any year for the Lincoln penny. It marked the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, and the U.S. Mint released special designs to honor his life. Production was rushed. Pressure was high. And when mints rush, mistakes happen. Tiny, nearly invisible mistakes that turn pocket change into legend. One collector claimed he found his penny in a roll from the bank. Nothing special at first glance. No mint mark beneath the date, meaning it came from Philadelphia. But something felt off. The strike looked unusually sharp. The surfaces were almost flawless. Under magnification, the lettering showed strange characteristics that didn't match standard issues. That moment changed his life. Collectors were shocked as words spread quietly behind closed doors. This wasn't a loud viral story at first. It moved through private conversations, dealer phone calls, and late-night forum posts. Because when real money is on the line, people stay quiet. A pristine 2009 no mint mark Lincoln penny, graded at the absolute top tier, paired with rare strike anomalies and near-perfect preservation, reportedly crossed the $1 million threshold. Some say the final number pushed close to $2.1 million when private buyers started competing. Suddenly, every ordinary-looking 2009 penny became a potential miracle. In 2009, many pennies were mishandled right after striking. Bags collided. Coins scraped against each other. That's why top-condition examples are almost non-existent. To reach insane values, the coin must look as if it was frozen in time the moment it left the press. No wear. No dulling. No discoloration. Just sharp detail and blazing surfaces. One dealer described holding a perfect example and said it felt unreal, like touching a mistake the mint never meant the public to see. The kind of coin that makes grown men go silent. Some of these coins show microscopic doubling in the lettering. Others have dye-polished lines that shouldn't be there. A few exhibit strike pressure inconsistencies that experts can't easily replicate. These aren't flashy errors you see from across the room. These are secrets that only reveal themselves when you slow down and really look. One man told a story that still circulates among collectors. He had two identical 2009 pennies. Same date. Same design. Same color. He spent one on coffee. He kept the other because it looked nicer. Years later, that choice turned into a life-changing discovery. His penny went from 1 cent to a value discussed in the same breath as $1 million. When the coin was submitted for grading, expectations were modest. Then the results came back. Highest possible preservation. Rare characteristics confirmed. Suddenly, phones started ringing. Dealers wanted meetings. Collectors wanted exclusivity. The price climbed not by thousands, not by hundreds of thousands, but by leaps that made headlines behind closed doors. Collectors are rushing to get their hands on these coins now, tearing through old jars, inherited collections, and forgotten drawers. Because the supply is locked in the past. No more 2009 pennies will ever be made. And every year, more are lost forever. Most 2009 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies are worth only face value. That's what makes this story so dangerous and so thrilling. The difference between 1 cent and $1 million can come down to details thinner than a human hair. First, check the date. It must be 2009. Then look below the date. No mint mark. If you see a D or an S, it's not this coin. Next, study the condition. Any heavy wear, scratches, dark spots, or dull surfaces dramatically reduce the value. The $1 million examples look almost unreal, like they were never touched by human hands. Now comes the part most people skip. Use magnification. Look closely at the lettering, especially Liberty and In God We Trust. Watch for subtle doubling, unusual thickness, or sharpness that stands out compared to normal pennies. Examine Lincoln's portrait for crisp edges and depth. Flip the coin and inspect the design lines. Tiny anomalies can mean everything. Avoid cleaning the coin at all costs. One wrong wipe can destroy its potential instantly. Many people have accidentally turned a fortune into pocket change by trying to make a coin shinier. And remember this, authentication matters. Stories of $1 million are tied to coins that were professionally graded and verified. Without that, it's just a rumor in your hand. Millions of Americans handled these pennies. Spent them. Lost them. Ignored them. Somewhere out there, the next legendary example could still be sitting unnoticed, waiting for the right eyes at the right moment. But in top condition, it shocked collectors with a market value whispered as high as $2.3 million. Picture this for a moment. You're standing at a grocery store checkout. The cashier drops a few pennies into your palm. You barely look. One of them is a 1981 Lincoln penny with a small D mint mark beneath the date. Ordinary. Forgettable. Or so it seems. But what if that exact penny wasn't ordinary at all? What if it was the kind of coin that turns everyday people into legends overnight? Because deep inside the world of U.S. coin collecting, the 1981 D Lincoln penny has a shadowy reputation. It comes from a time when the U.S. Mint was quietly changing metals, rushing production, and struggling to maintain perfect quality. Millions of coins were struck, but only a microscopic handful were struck just wrong enough, and just perfect enough, to become once-in-a-lifetime treasures, collectors still talk about the first time one of these surfaced. A man sorting pocket change late at night noticed something felt different. The coin looked sharper, cleaner, almost too perfect. When he tilted it under the light, the details jumped out in a way modern pennies never do. The lettering seemed stronger. The strike looked unusually crisp. And that tiny D mint mark? It was placed just a little differently than expected. Experts believed the 1981 D was common. Billions of pennies exist. Yet under magnification, this coin told a different story. Subtle die characteristics. An unusually sharp strike for that year. And most importantly, a condition so pristine that graders almost didn't believe it was real. When it came back authenticated and sealed in a top-grade holder, whispers began. Dealers leaned in. Phones started ringing. This wasn't just a nice penny, it was a monster hiding in plain sight. Collectors were shocked. Some refused to believe a modern-era Lincoln cent could be worth $1 million money. Others immediately understood. In the coin world, rarity isn't just about how many were made. It's about how many survived exactly right. And for the 1981 D, survival in flawless condition is almost unheard of. Then came the auction rumors. Private sales. Quiet offers. Numbers that didn't make sense for a 1-cent coin. One dealer reportedly said, "If another one like this ever appears, it could reset the entire market." And that's when panic set in. Collectors across the country started checking jars, drawers, old piggy banks. Because if one existed, there could be another. The valuable 1981 D Lincoln penny isn't about age. It's about perfection and precision. You're looking for an exceptionally sharp strike where Lincoln's hair details are full and clean, not flat. The date should be crisp with no weakness. The D mint mark must be clear, well-shaped, and properly punched, not damaged, not filled, not sloppy. The surface should glow with original luster, free from scratches, stains, or dullness. Even the tiniest flaw can drop the value from life-changing to pocket change. Counterfeits started appearing. Overcleaned coins were passed off as rare. People unknowingly destroyed value by polishing pennies, thinking shinier meant better. In reality, one wipe of a cloth can erase hundreds of thousands of dollars in potential. Dealers warn that most people ruin these coins before they ever realize what they had. Still, every year, another unbelievable story surfaces. A retired worker. A young collector. Someone cleaning out an old desk. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle simply because he paused and looked closer. The 1981 D Lincoln penny isn't screaming for attention. It doesn't shine like gold. It doesn't look ancient. It waits quietly, hiding among the most ignored coins in America, daring someone to recognize it for what it is. But today, in top condition, it's whispered about with a value reaching $1 million, a 1998 D mint mark Lincoln penny that rewrote what collectors thought was possible. Picture this. It's the late 1990s. The U.S. Mint is striking billions of pennies every year. Copper-coated zinc coins flood banks, gas stations, grocery stores. Nothing special. Nothing rare. Or so everyone believed. Somewhere inside that massive production run at the Denver Mint, a handful of pennies were born different. Not loud. Not obvious. Just quietly wrong enough to become legendary. At first, no one noticed. These coins passed through vending machines, cash registers, and pockets without a second glance. One of them reportedly sat for years in a glass jar, mixed with nickels and dimes, forgotten on a shelf. And this is where the story turns chilling, because the owner almost spent it. A collector, someone who had spent decades searching rolls late at night under harsh desk lamps, felt something was off. The color wasn't quite right. The strike felt sharper. The details looked too perfect. And then there were the microscopic clues, things only seasoned eyes ever catch. When experts examined it, the room went quiet. This wasn't just a good penny. This was a freak survivor of a minting anomaly so rare that it shouldn't exist at all. Because buried inside this ordinary-looking 1998 D Lincoln penny was a combination of factors that turned pocket change into $1 million miracle. The 1998 D penny itself isn't supposed to be rare. Millions were made. That's what makes this story terrifying and thrilling at the same time. The value explosion comes from a razor-thin margin of perfection and error colliding. We're talking about minting pressure anomalies, strike alignment irregularities, and surface preservation so pristine that grading experts described it as nearly impossible for circulation. Some of these pennies show signs of an abnormal strike, where the dies press the coin with slightly uneven force, creating subtle doubling in the lettering or date. Others reveal planchet issues, where the metal blank was improperly prepared, resulting in weight deviations so small you need precision scales to detect them. To the untrained eye, it's just a shiny penny. To a collector, it's a once-in-a-lifetime find. When one of these coins finally hit the auction block, the estimate was modest. Even the auction house didn't fully grasp what they had. Bidding opened quietly. Then a collector recognized it. Then another. Then another. The room shifted. Online bidders piled in. The price leapt, then doubled, then kept climbing. When the hammer finally fell, jaws dropped. A penny that once bought nothing sold for an amount that could buy houses, cars, and freedom. Collectors across the U.S., aged 30, 40, 60, even 70, started digging through old jars, childhood collections, and forgotten rolls. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on any 1998 D pennies in top condition. Coin forums exploded with speculation. Could there be more? Were others still hiding in plain sight? Experts confirmed that only a microscopic number of these coins could ever reach such extreme values. The market value up to $2.4 million is tied to absolute top condition, elite grading, and very specific minting characteristics. Even one scratch, one cleaning mistake, one fingerprint could destroy the value. That's why so many were lost forever without anyone knowing. If you're holding a 1998 D mint mark Lincoln penny, you're not looking for just age. You're looking for condition. Razor-sharp details on Lincoln's face. Strong, full lettering in Liberty and In God We Trust. A clean, centered strike with no blurring. Look closely at the date and mint mark for subtle doubling or unusual spacing. Weigh the coin. Even a tiny deviation matters. And never, ever clean it. Cleaning destroys value instantly and permanently. Because the real tragedy isn't that these pennies are rare. It's that so many potential million-dollar coins were thrown away, scratched, or spent before anyone knew what to look for. History doesn't announce itself. Sometimes it hides quietly in your pocket. But years later, it shocked the entire coin world when experts revealed it could be worth up to $2.5 million in top condition. At first glance, it looks like nothing special. A simple brown Lincoln penny dated 1984 with a small D mint mark beneath the ear. The kind of coin millions of Americans have touched without thinking twice. The kind that rattles around in jars, car cup holders, and old drawers. But hidden inside this ordinary-looking penny is a secret that turned collectors pale, and turned one quiet discovery into a life-changing moment. The story begins during a chaotic period at the U.S. Mint. In 1984, the Denver Mint was producing massive quantities of Lincoln pennies at high speed. Machines were running nonstop. Dies were being reused longer than usual. Quality checks were rushed. And in that rush, something slipped through, something that was never supposed to exist. Collectors didn't notice it at first. For years, these pennies circulated freely. Kids spent them on candy. Cashiers tossed them into registers. No one imagined that a microscopic flaw, invisible to the untrained eye, was quietly traveling across America, waiting to be discovered. He wasn't wealthy. He wasn't famous. Just a patient collector who believed that rare treasures still existed in everyday change. One evening, sorting through rolls of pennies from a local bank, he noticed something strange about a 1984 D Lincoln cent. Lincoln's face didn't look quite right. The details felt off. Almost doubled. Almost distorted. Under magnification, the coin revealed a dramatic and unmistakable error, a powerful double die effect that most people would never spot without knowing exactly what to look for. Lincoln's ear appeared doubled. His profile showed extra thickness. The inscriptions looked subtly shifted, as if the coin had been struck twice in two slightly different positions. Dealers stopped what they were doing. Auction houses began calling. Specialists confirmed the worst, or the best, depending on who was holding the coin. This wasn't just rare. This was one of the most dramatic modern Lincoln cent errors ever discovered. As more experts examined the penny, they realized just how few authentic examples existed in high grade. Most had been worn down in circulation, scratched, damaged, lost. But this one? It had survived in astonishing condition. Clean surfaces, strong luster, razor-sharp details. In the coin world, a single grade difference can mean thousands of dollars. With this penny, it meant the difference between a curiosity and $1 million territory. Collectors who had ignored 1980s pennies for decades suddenly began searching their change again. Forums lit up. Coin shops were flooded with hopeful visitors carrying jars and envelopes, all asking the same question. Could this be the one? A pristine example of the 1984 double-die Lincoln penny, authenticated and graded at the highest level, was valued at up to $2.5 million. This coin was never recalled. It was never announced, and it was never officially documented when it was released. On the rare 1984 double-die, Lincoln's ear shows a dramatic doubling effect. It looks thicker, almost like a second ear overlapping the first. This isn't a blur from wear. It's a strong, raised doubling caused by a misaligned die during the minting process. Look closely at the date as well. The numbers may appear slightly doubled. The word Liberty can show subtle separation. Even In God We Trust may look shifted or thicker than normal. Scratches, flattening, or machine doubling can trick beginners. That's why experts always recommend magnification and proper lighting. Real double-die errors show clean, raised edges, not flat, smeared lines. A heavily worn example might be valuable, but a sharp, uncirculated one is where dreams turn real. Original color. No cleaning. No polishing. Natural surfaces. Those are the qualities that push a coin into $1 million conversations. Collectors were shocked when they realized how close they may have come to spending one of these pennies without ever knowing it. And every year, news stories emerge of people finding rare coins in the most ordinary places: estate sales, old coffee cans, inherited collections, even grocery store change. So before you dismiss that old penny, before you roll it up or toss it aside, take a moment. Check the date. Look for the D mint mark. Examine Lincoln's ear. Study the details most people never see. But today, in top condition, it's whispered about in the same breath as $1 million. Picture this for a moment. A tired man stands at a grocery store checkout in 1981, pockets full of loose change. He pays, grabs his receipt, and without looking, dumps the remaining pennies into a jar at home. One of those pennies had no mint mark. Nothing special at first glance. Just another Lincoln penny, or so everyone thought, because the 1981 no mint mark Lincoln penny is one of the most misunderstood, underestimated, and quietly hunted coins in modern American history. And when one surfaces in absolute top condition, collectors don't just get excited, they panic. Dealers stop answering calls. Auction houses go silent. And behind closed doors, bids climb into territory most people never imagined. For a single cent, the year 1981 was a turning point for U.S. coinage. The mint was under pressure, costs were rising, and subtle changes were happening behind the scenes that most Americans never noticed. Pennies were still supposed to be copper-heavy, but quality control was slipping. Dies were reused longer than they should have been. Strikes weren't always clean. And mistakes were quietly slipping out into circulation. Most 1981 pennies were struck in Philadelphia with no mint mark, and millions were made. That's why people ignore them. That's why they spend them. That's why they end up in couch cushions and coin jars. One collector tells a story that still circulates at coin shows today. He was sorting through rolls of pennies late one night, half asleep, ready to quit. Then he saw it. A 1981 penny that looked wrong. Too sharp. Too perfect. The color was rich, original, untouched. The fields looked like glass. Lincoln's hairs showed details he'd never seen on that year before, because when experts examined the coin, they realized it wasn't just high grade. It was nearly flawless. A strike so clean it bordered on impossible for that year. A penny that somehow escaped circulation damage entirely. No wear. No spots. No carbon. No dullness. Condition is everything. For the 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a coin worth $1 million is invisible to the untrained eye. We're talking about microscopic details. The sharpness of Lincoln's jaw. The separation in the hair above the ear. The crispness of the letters in Liberty and I in God We Trust. Most 1981 pennies are weakly struck. The mint was rushing. Dies were tired. So when a perfectly struck example appears, it sends shockwaves through the market. Some of the most valuable examples also show subtle minting anomalies. Not flashy errors you can see from across the room. Quiet, deadly errors. Slight die misalignments. Unusual planchet characteristics. Weight and metal composition that fall just outside the norm. .1 auction record changed everything. A pristine 1981 no-mint mark penny, graded at the absolute top of the scale, crossed the block and stunned everyone. The final price wasn't just high. It was historic. Phones buzzed. Forums exploded. And suddenly, collectors who had ignored this year for decades were tearing through their collections in a frenzy. And the reason is simple. There are far more people looking for top-condition examples than there are coins that exist. Once a single example proves the ceiling is $1 million, every other high-grade coin becomes a lottery ticket. Not many. Not often. But enough to prove that some of these coins were still out there, hiding in old collections, bank rolls, inherited jars, forgotten drawers. Coins that had never been cleaned, never polished, never mishandled. He wasn't a professional. He wasn't a dealer. He was just careful. He never cleaned his coins. Never spent the shiny ones. And when he finally had his pennies examined, the experts fell silent. For every confirmed $1 million level 1981 penny, there could be dozens sitting unrecognized. Coins that haven't been graded. Coins that haven't been authenticated. Coins that haven't yet entered the spotlight. Once collectors lock these away, once populations are fully known, once the market stabilizes, the chance of discovery fades. Start with the date. 1981. No mint mark under the date means Philadelphia. That's correct. Don't assume it's rare just because of that. Most aren't. Can you clearly see individual hair strands? Is the beard defined? Are the letters crisp, squared, and bold? Then look at the surfaces. Any scratches, spots, fingerprints, or dullness kill value instantly. Top condition coins look almost unreal. Like they were struck yesterday and frozen in time. Check the color. Original copper tone matters. Bright red or red-brown with no artificial shine. Cleaning destroys value faster than anything else. Finally, weight and feel. Serious collectors measure. They compare. Subtle differences can mean everything. If you think you have one, don't rush. Don't sell. Don't polish. Get it professionally evaluated by a trusted grading service. That plastic holder might be the most valuable thing you ever receive in the mail. The 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, in absolute top condition, has crossed into $1 million territory. Not because it's old. Not because it's flashy. But because it's rare where it matters most. But today, in absolute top condition, it has been whispered about as $1 million miracle that stunned seasoned collectors across the United States. Imagine this for a second. You're cleaning out an old jar of pocket change. Penny scratched, dull, forgotten. One coin slips through your fingers. A 1988 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. Nothing flashy. Nothing special. Or so it seems. But what if that exact penny was secretly worth up to $2.7 million? The year 1988 was supposed to be ordinary for the U.S. Mint. Billions of pennies rolled off the presses. Most were spent on coffee, dropped in parking lots, or lost forever between couch cushions. But during that year, something strange happened, something that wasn't caught in time. Deep inside the minting process, when dies were being prepared and presses were running non-stop, tiny inconsistencies slipped through. Microscopic details. Weight differences. Subtle surface textures that only appear when something goes just slightly wrong. And those errors didn't scream for attention. They whispered. A dealer in the Midwest reportedly examined a flawless 1988 no-mint mark penny that looked too perfect. The luster was unreal. The strike was razor sharp. And yet, under magnification, the coin revealed anomalies that shouldn't exist together. It wasn't just rare. It was wrong in all the right ways. When similar examples began surfacing, always in extraordinary condition, always without a mint mark, whispers turned into urgency. Phone calls were made. Auctions were delayed. Private offers climbed rapidly. 6 figures. Then 7. And suddenly, the unthinkable was on the table. $1 million for a penny most people wouldn't bend over to pick up. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, not because every 1988 penny is valuable, far from it, but because the right one changes everything. The no-mint mark means the coin was struck in Philadelphia. But certain 1988 pennies show characteristics that don't align with standard Philadelphia production. Slightly different metal flow. Unusual die polish lines. A strike pressure that feels almost experimental. Some experts believe a small batch was produced during a transitional moment, when equipment adjustments were being made, but coins were still released into circulation. He received the penny as change from a gas station in the early 1990s. Threw it into a drawer. Forgot about it for nearly 30 years. When hard times hit, he decided to sell old coins for a few dollars. That penny almost went into a bulk lot, until a sharp-eyed dealer paused, leaned closer, and said nothing. Under professional grading, the coin came back in near-perfect condition. The surfaces untouched by time. The strike nearly flawless. And the anomalies? All confirmed. When the valuation came in, the room went quiet. The estimate crossed into $1 million territory, and history was made. Most 1988 pennies are worth exactly 1 cent because they've been worn down by decades of use. But the coins commanding life-changing money are the ones that look almost frozen in time. Sharp edges. Full luster. No corrosion. No heavy contact marks. And crucially, no mint mark beneath the date. Some assume no mint mark means common. Others clean their coins, destroying value instantly. Some never check weight, never use magnification, never notice the faint signs of a rare die state. And just like that, a potential fortune disappears. As prices rose, more people began checking their change. Coin forums exploded. Grading services saw a surge in submissions. And every time a high-grade 1988 no-mint mark penny appeared, the same question echoed. Is this the one? This penny doesn't shout its value. It doesn't glitter like gold or shine like silver. It looks humble. Ordinary. Almost boring. And that's why it's so dangerous to ignore. To identify this exact coin, you must slow down and look closer than you ever have before. Check the date, 1988. Look beneath it. Absolutely no mint mark. Examine the surface. Original red or red-brown color, not cleaned, not altered. The details of Lincoln's portrait should be crisp, with strong separation in the hair and beard. The reverse wheat lines and memorial details must be sharp and full. Never clean the coin. Cleaning destroys value instantly and permanently. A clean penny worth 1 cent will never become $1 million coin again. If the coin feels unusually sharp, unusually clean, unusually perfect for its age, that's when you stop. That's when you get it examined. That's when stories begin. But experts now say it could sell for over $2.5 million. Imagine holding a small copper penny in your hand, something so ordinary most people don't even glance at it, yet this one hides a secret worth $1 million. What makes it so valuable? And why are collectors around the world scrambling to find it? It all begins at the US Mint in 2011. A batch of Lincoln pennies was produced under circumstances so rare, even the employees weren't aware of what they were creating. A microscopic misalignment, a hidden double strike, or a minting flaw barely noticeable to the untrained eye. But to the right collector, this flaw could mean life-changing wealth. One coin, pulled from the hands of a casual collector, shocked the numismatic world. It was not polished, not gleaming, just a penny that had survived the average wallet, loose in pocket change. Yet, under the magnifying glass, a hidden D-mint mark anomaly appeared. Dealers gasped. Collectors were astounded. A single 2011 D penny had transformed from everyday currency into a treasure valued at $1 million. Auctions that normally sell pennies for a few dollars now listed this coin for six-figure sums, and in pristine condition, it commanded a staggering price beyond anyone's imagination. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle overnight. The secret lies in the detail most people completely miss. It's subtle, almost invisible to the naked eye. A slight doubling of the mint mark, a unique strike that only occurs in rare batches. That tiny imperfection, combined with perfect preservation, is exactly what turns a normal penny into $1 million collectible. Collectors who spotted these coins early were rushed into bidding wars. Imagine a room full of seasoned coin experts, each realizing at the same time that a single 2011 D penny could define the future of their collection. That rush, that desperation, has never been seen with a modern Lincoln penny before. But here's the twist: these coins are not easy to find. Most are buried in drawers, stashed in jars, forgotten in wallets. One casual collector found his in a coffee cup, mixed in with loose change. At first, he thought it was just a normal penny, until a single glance under a magnifying glass revealed a minting error so rare, the value exploded instantly. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The alignment, the doubling, the luster, all combined to create a coin that could turn an ordinary person into a millionaire. Dealers have scoured every coin store, every estate sale, every online auction. The hunt is real, intense, and utterly thrilling. What makes the 2011 D penny different from the thousands of other pennies minted that year? It's the combination of timing, minting error, and condition. A perfectly preserved example, untouched by circulation, with a flawless mint mark, is the key. Even slight wear can reduce its value dramatically, but the perfect specimen. That's where the $1 million potential lies. Collectors often overlook these coins because they look ordinary at first glance. But trained eyes see the difference immediately. The shine, the spacing of the mint mark, the sharpness of Lincoln's features, every detail matters. Missing one of these clues could mean overlooking a fortune hidden in plain sight, and the stories don't stop there. One family inherited a jar of pennies from their grandfather. Among the hundreds of coins, one 2011 D penny glimmered differently. After sending it to a grading expert, they discovered it was worth over $2 million. One simple discovery turned their ordinary inheritance into a life-altering windfall. Holding a coin that for decades seemed worthless, only to discover it holds the potential to change everything. This is why collectors are obsessed, why dealers are desperate, and why every ordinary penny deserves a second look. First, check the mint mark. The D is critical. Next, examine for doubling or misalignment. Look for exceptional luster, sharp edges, and flawless surfaces. Tiny scratches or wear can destroy the value. And finally, if you suspect you might have one, send it to a professional grading service. The difference between $10 and $1 million can hinge on a single, subtle detail. Collectors were shocked when auction after auction proved the value of this coin. A modern Lincoln penny, something almost everyone overlooks, suddenly became one of the most sought-after treasures in the numismatic world. Dealers are willing to pay whatever it takes. Collectors are holding on to every possibility, scanning change for that elusive, life-changing mint mark. Every line, every curve, every small mark on the coin tells a story. A story of chance, of timing, of hidden wealth. And the most exciting part? This coin is still out there. It could be sitting in your drawer, hidden among your everyday pennies, quietly holding a fortune waiting to be discovered. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. but it recently sold for nearly $2.6 million. Imagine that, a single penny small enough to fit in your hand, worth more than most people make in a lifetime. And yet, most people pass it by without a second glance. It all begins in 1981. The United States Mint was producing billions of pennies, most of them destined to vanish into pockets, cash registers, and coin jars. But one batch of pennies was different. Hidden in plain sight, these coins carried a silent secret, a subtle minting anomaly that would turn them into legends decades later. Collectors were shocked when this penny first surfaced in the 1990s. One man, digging through his childhood piggy bank, noticed something odd. A coin, tarnished and unremarkable at first glance, had no mint mark where it should have. That tiny absence would make it almost impossible to find today, and almost impossible for the untrained eye to recognize. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these pennies. The 1981 no mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just rare, it's a time capsule of errors, history, and luck. Only the sharpest eyes, the most patient collectors, and those willing to chase clues will ever spot one. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At a private auction in 2017, one of these pennies changed hands for over $2.6 million. Imagine that, a single coin, smaller than your fingernail, transforming someone's life forever. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. It's not just age or copper content. The magic lies in the missing mint mark, an error caused by a rare oversight at the Denver Mint. Only a handful of these pennies were struck perfectly this way. Most were destroyed, melted down, or accidentally stamped with a mint mark. That tiny absence, a detail almost no one notices, is why this coin has become the holy grail for Lincoln penny collectors. And there's more. These pennies carry a story of survival. Billions of ordinary 1981 pennies circulated across the country, worn down, lost, or forgotten. Only a few survived in top condition. Collectors often search for decades, examining thousands of coins under magnifying glasses, and still come up empty-handed. This is where obsession meets opportunity. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that almost no one else has seen. Imagine the rush, the adrenaline, the knowledge that you might be the one to uncover a piece of history that could be worth $1 million. But it's not easy. Many collectors mistake common pennies for the no mint mark variety. A tiny scratch, a faded edge, or improper lighting can make them overlook a genuine treasure. You have to know exactly what to look for: crisp details on Lincoln's profile, perfectly aligned lettering, and the unmistakable absence of the mint mark under the date. One small error could mean the difference between a few cents and a multi-million-dollar find. Collectors were shocked when they realized that some of the most pristine examples had been hiding in plain sight, stashed in drawers, jars, and even old cash registers. Ordinary families, never suspecting the value, handed them over for pennies or pocket change, completely unaware of the fortune in their hands. One coin, pulled from a dusty collection in Ohio, sparked a bidding war that lasted hours. The room was tense. Every phone line ringing. Every collector trying to outbid the other, knowing that only one person would walk away with a life-changing prize. When the hammer finally fell, over $2.6 million changed hands, and a new legend was born. This isn't just about money. It's about discovery, history, and the thrill of holding a secret from the past. Every tiny detail tells a story: the way the light glints off the copper, the subtle imperfections that prove its authenticity, and the way it survived decades of circulation. It's a piece of American history, frozen in time, waiting for the right person to recognize its value. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. If you're serious about finding one, you need to start looking through your own coins. Check any 1981 pennies you might have. Look for the absence of a mint mark, but also study the edges and surfaces carefully. Many fakes and near misses exist, but a true no mint mark penny will have that perfect, unmarked area below the date and above Lincoln's shoulder. Collectors have developed secret methods: magnifying glasses, special lighting, and precise knowledge of weight and copper composition. Even a tiny difference in sheen can tell you if you're holding a potential $1 million coin. Some even use online databases and auction records to cross-reference coins they discover in the wild. Imagine the moment you hold it. The same coin that could have been tossed in a jar or lost in the couch cushions. The one coin that connects you directly to history, to the mint, to the countless hands it passed through before yours. And suddenly, you realize what so many dream about. The possibility that this small piece of metal could completely change your life. Not every 1981 penny without a mint mark is a treasure. Condition is everything. Tiny scratches, bends, or discoloration can reduce a $1 million coin to mere collector's curiosity. But for the rare few that survive decades in near-perfect condition, the value is undeniable. Dealers and collectors will pay, sometimes in secret, sometimes in record-breaking public auctions. Collectors who've handled these pennies describe the experience as surreal. One described it as holding history itself, as if the coin whispered stories of every hand that carried it, every pocket it passed through, and every mistake that nearly destroyed it. That's the allure, the emotional power of a coin that survived against the odds, now worth millions. Start by checking your 1981 pennies carefully. No mint mark. Perfectly preserved. Copper with a rich, deep tone. Lincoln's profile sharp and crisp. Compare it to verified examples online, or take it to a professional grading service. Every detail matters. One mistake could mean missing your fortune. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Imagine the thrill, the adrenaline, the chance to be the one who discovers what millions of others have searched for in vain. One small coin, one incredible story, one life-changing discovery, all waiting for you. But instead, it sold for nearly $2 million. Imagine holding a coin so ordinary, most people would toss it without a second thought. A simple 1972 Lincoln penny, worn from decades in circulation, yet hiding a secret so rare it could change someone's life forever. Collectors across the United States are scrambling for it, and dealers are paying unbelievable sums just for a glimpse. The story begins in the quiet halls of the U.S. Mint, decades ago, where coins like this were struck every day. But in 1972, something unusual happened. A batch of pennies was minted with no Denver mark, a subtle detail most people would never notice. And within that batch, a rare error occurred, a hidden flaw that would turn a small piece of copper into $1 million treasure. Collectors were shocked when they first noticed it. One man discovered his coin in a dusty drawer, forgotten for years. He thought it was worthless. But a closer look revealed a faint doubling on the date, a minting anomaly so subtle, only the sharpest eyes could catch it. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. That same coin was auctioned, quietly at first, yet bids skyrocketed. Experts who had seen thousands of pennies could not believe the price. The coin's story spread like wildfire. People began digging through old jars, loose change, and family collections, desperate to find their own fortune hiding in plain sight. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The absence of the mint mark, combined with a rare die doubling, creates a perfect storm of value. One moment, it's just pocket change, the next, it's a key to unimaginable wealth. Dealers whisper about it in private circles, and serious collectors are paying top dollar, sometimes over $2 million, for a coin no bigger than your fingertip. Every line, every curve, every tiny detail matters. The ridge around Lincoln's head, the exact spacing of the letters, the faint shadows of the doubled date, they all combine to make this coin exceptional. Even the smallest scratch or blemish can cut its value drastically, which is why condition is everything. Top-grade examples are nearly flawless, gleaming with a quiet copper brilliance that makes collectors' hearts race. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Imagine finding a coin that could fund your dreams, retirement, a home, a life you never thought possible, all tucked inside your jeans or on the bottom of a drawer. It sounds unbelievable, yet it happens more often than you might think. Patience, vigilance, and a keen eye separate the lucky few from the masses. A 1972 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is deceptively simple. But spotting the doubled die or the perfect surface could instantly transform it into a treasure worth millions. Many people dismiss their change, never imagining that a single penny could hold such power. and the auction stories are just as dramatic. One coin sold in New York City, quietly listed in a catalog, until the room erupted with bids. The hammer fell, and a hush fell over the crowd. $2 million exchanged hands for a single coin. Every collector in that room knew this wasn't just money, it was history, rarity, and fortune rolled into one. You need to know what to look for. First, check the date carefully. A 1972 penny without a mint mark is the first clue. Then examine Lincoln's profile and the letters carefully. Doubling along the date or letters indicates the rare die error. Look for coins in top condition. Scratches, corrosion, and discoloration can destroy the value. And beware of fakes or altered coins. Only genuine, uncirculated examples will fetch millions. But even beyond the numbers, there's the thrill of discovery. That moment when you realize your coin isn't ordinary. When you hold it in your hand and understand that decades of history, luck, and careful minting have converged to create something truly extraordinary. The excitement, the tension, the possibility of turning a forgotten penny into a life-changing treasure, that's what makes this coin so captivating. People all over the US are now searching their drawers, their jars, and their old coin collections. Dealers are offering top dollar, and private collectors are quietly bidding over the phone, each hoping to be the next person to uncover a coin worth over $1 million. This isn't just about money. It's about the story, the mystery, the thrill of finding a secret the world has nearly forgotten. Every 1972 no-mint mark Lincoln penny tells a story of minting mistakes, of overlooked value, of ordinary people suddenly holding extraordinary power in their hands. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. The next person who discovers it could rewrite their future forever, simply by paying attention to a coin that most people ignore. So look closely. Check every date, every ridge, every tiny detail. What seems ordinary may hide the extraordinary. One moment, it's a penny. The next, it's the key to a life-changing fortune, a rare treasure worth millions, hiding in plain sight for decades, waiting for someone like you to find it.